The Discord. Everybody's filing back in.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all jumping back in after that little hiccup.
I'm just posting as well. I'm just posting to the other communities. All right, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
Perfect. Cool, cool. All
So
right.
yeah, I was saying
Well,
that I was trying to say that it's weird, isn't it, how the Twitter space also, I mean, I guess it's logical that, Twitter experiences its own bear market, but it's really the time to really stick around. I don't know if you agree, but this is really the time, where the real money's made and the opportunities flourish. Like I don't really view bull and bear market. I just view an adaptation of strategy. And so it's a shame that when this happens, it becomes so empty. But I guess that presents much greater opportunity to those who do stick around.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I usually tell, especially like my friends that originally were asking about NFTs when the bull market was going on, and I was telling them, it's right now, it's kind of difficult to learn because everything is moving so fast. But once you see it kind of head towards a bear market or like a downtrend, everything seems to slow down. So it's the perfect time to really catch up, absorb as much information as you can, and prepare yourself for the next rally. And that's why
Definitely.
education is so important, right? And that's why I
Education.
love. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, you go, you go. Sorry, I
I
didn't
was
mean to
say
interrupt you there.
I love everything that you're doing over at NFT Cafe, and you know, if we want people, casual users, and newcomers to join the space, the biggest thing is the on ramp and the learning curve jumping into crypto and NFTs, right? And so, education is a crucial part if we want this industry to grow. So, definitely love
Definitely.
what you're doing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, just an extension to what you're saying is like if people come into this space and there's such a taboo around crypto and NFTs that it's a rug, it's a scam, it's a fraud. Like the amount of friends I will talk to, and they'd be like, I don't trust it. And I was like, you don't know anything about it. Like, how can you? And that's the problem. They don't know anything about it. How can you trust something that you don't know about? And so I'm really trying to do my bit for the community. Like I'm talking about the greater community to kind of get rid of that taboo, make an access point where, take this step into Web3. Let me and the team at the NFT Cafe hold your hand. Let us show you that this is a wonderful place. Let us show you how much opportunity there is to make money. What it was for me is that I had like a business before this, and if I was doing like, a shift at and another job before I had my own business, yeah, it would take me like a week to make X amount of money, and then I would come home and click, the mouse a few times for like 2 hours during the bull run, and I would make like three times that. And I was just like, what is the point of me doing anything else but this? Like, I wasn't passionate about my job, but then obviously when I started my own business, that was pretty good. But then anyway, coming into Web3, it was really a hobby, and then a hobby turned into a passion, and now this passion and hobby is kind of turned into a career, which is super, super like, I'm super blessed to have, you know, I guess sought out the opportunities and received the opportunities and the position that I'm in now. But yeah, it's really the NFT cafe is it's really that access point. Like I said, it's like the guidance. So come in. And so the branding of it really is like everyone loves a cafe, a coffee, a tea, even if not, it's like a hub to hang out with your friends. So it's really like a soft, a gentle, a friendly atmospheric place where, it's not driven by ego. It's not you don't have to pay anything. It's like, let us help you navigate this safely. And all we ask is that when you're an experienced trader, investor, whatever developer, smart contract writer, then just pay it forward, then just help the next guy. So I'm hoping like the team and I help 100 people and they help five people each, and then all of a sudden 500 people helped, and then they help five people each. And, I'm trying to create this like downwards treacle effect.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I guess actually before we continue on to this conversation discussion, let's go ahead and set the room. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining in and coming back in after that little hiccup of the rug. But we got EC NFT in the house. We're going to be
Yeah, man,
talking
thank you.
about a little bit, a little bit about his journey and kind of pick his brain on how we can set ourselves up for success during this bear market and get ready for the next rally. Um, so if
Definitely.
you could just please just share the room, go ahead and retweet the space, let everybody know that we're in here, and let's go ahead and get started.
For sure, man. For
So
sure.
yeah. So I know you were
Um,
just talking a little bit about your, starting your own business and kind of leading into getting into NFTs and whatnot. If you don't mind, kind of just talking about your journey and how you kind of got started into
yeah,
NFTs and
sure. I mean,
where you're
yes.
going now.
Sorry, I got slightly ahead of myself. I'm so passionate about the cafe that any opportunity that I get to open my mouth, you end up just talking and talking and talking at someone, and that's I wouldn't say a good or bad tendency, but something that I should be aware of. But anyway, I also want to kind of share the room, say thank you for everyone for showing up. You're the real ones, hanging around in this bear market. At the end of it, we will come to some applicable strategies of how you can still make astronomical gains during this bear market. So yeah, if you stick around, then that's great. But anyway, so my alias in Web3 is ECNFT. EC is really the initials to my first name, so you guys can call me Ewan if we ever cross paths. So Ewan is my first name. I'm from the UK. I'm 26 years old, almost 27. So kind of, I guess for the NFT space, you can consider a little bit older, considering that we're having some like fire alpha callers and analytical people who are like 15 years old. Like it's crazy. But yeah, so actually my background is I studied Chinese language and international business at Leeds University, it's one of the top universities in the UK. And I went into university not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I already so a little bit more background. I'm half Taiwanese, so I'm half Taiwanese, half Asian. So luckily, I spoke fluent Chinese and fluent English growing up, so quite a head start and advantage, I guess, in life, given the two most widely spoken languages. And so I went to uni, so I did international business as a joint honors with the Chinese. So I have a background in kind of like marketing, economics, globalization, especially, and kind of like, all the steps of how to build a successful business. And when I came out of uni and, there was all this COVID stuff, I started a Chinese tutoring agency kind of arbitrage, like kind of that kind of business agency kind of thing where I would only take on to the people on the team who could speak fluent English and Chinese with a neutral accent. And I marketed myself and the team to very, very elite and high-end Chinese parents. And I don't know if any of you know anything about those guys, but they are super, super rich. So like they will pay anything for what they feel is best for their child, especially a lot of the children in kind of the age range were a part of the one child policy. And so they wanted the best for that one child. So that was quite a profitable business. However, I was not passionate about it. Like I love teaching, but teaching language, it was just like a turnover kind of thing. And so in the years to come through COVID, where I couldn't do too much, I started like a catering kind of a small catering company in the southwest of England. Again, lucrative, profitable, but again, wasn't passionate about it. And to scale a business where it's a physical good, you need people, as in laborers. You need premises, as in restaurants, vans, etc. You need equipment, and it's just so labor intensive. So then, anyway, during all of this time, I had obviously been saving some money, and I was always into financial literacy. Reading books, listening to podcasts, and I was always a big fan of using money to make money. Compounding, trading, investing. And so naturally, I was into crypto because I'm quite a high risk, high reward kind of person, but not a gambler. And so I like the volatility of the market. And then naturally through crypto, I was scrolling through Instagram one day and I come up with this NFT. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to FOMO in. So at the time, ETH was at like $3,000, $3,500. So I just threw in like just under one ETH. I was just like, let's see how this goes. And this was quite a long time ago now. This is maybe like just after the Bored Ape, so like around the Dogecoin kind of era. And I threw it in on a random project. And luckily, I'd hit a times 5 overnight. And what, as you can imagine, with that, that one ETH into like 5 ETH, I got that mad hit of dopamine. I was just like, whoa, like what is this kind of thing? And so that naturally inspired me and piqued my interest in like NFTs as a whole. And because I wasn't trading crypto was slow, it was very passive. And all of a sudden I had this like world where all of a sudden I can be active and like my own efforts are paying off, like my own educating myself, my own trade actions, my own kind of like efforts to network and own research where I was getting it was like hours in, money out. Whereas crypto is, unless you're trading, it's not really money hours in, money's out unless you know what you're doing. And so I had some success. I was trading and flipping peak of the bull market, and I was like a bit of a DJ, like heavy sweeper, as in like I would just throw in like stupid amounts of ETH. And luckily I would hit, you win big. If you lose big, you win big. I find if you win big, you can cover like 5 or 10 losses. So I would always just kind of like degen in. And luckily I flipped up, flipped up, flipped up, and I had so much luck. I eventually had enough money. I bought myself a new Audi, which is pretty cool. Um, and then I kept flipping up, and then I had enough, liquidity and capital to do a bit of like fractionalized real estate investment. So obviously I can say I have my fair share of success flipping NFTs to be able to get these like in real life physical tangible assets, which is really good, really set me up. And then as the bear market comes around the end of January, I'd witnessed like a bit of a bear market before, especially in crypto, and I was just like, how can I spend this time better than just like stepping to one side? And so I started to think, okay, I've had my share of success. Let me try and educate other people. Let me try and help other people have their fair share of success, especially going into a bear market. Because if you enter, obviously I entered into the bull run. If I entered into the bull run and threw that one ETH, in a bear market and threw that one ETH in, then 100% I would have got wrecked. Like I would have at least lost 50% of my portfolio. So I wanted to like create no, this was before the cafe, sorry. I wanted to create something that could help people enter the space or navigate it safely. Because I'm a firm believer of even if you're not calling alpha and helping people earn money or Ethereum or Solana, if you're helping people to do their own due diligence, exercise caution, think twice before they make a decision, you're saving them money. It's equal. Like you're exactly the same hero as the guy who made the money. Obviously, the person who makes the money gets praised more. If you can be someone who helps people not lose money, I feel like they should also, kind of get the credit for it. So what I did is I wrote like a 20-page ebook, and I don't know, some of my new followers might not have seen it, but back when I was only just building my Twitter, in fact, I actually started this Twitter as a new one because my old one, I was just spamming like the whole giveaway stuff, and like I wasn't really building. And so I actually released that 20-page ebook. It was titled "What Makes a Good NFT Project: How to Separate the Good from the Bad." And I put that, and I pinned it to my tweets. I pinned it to my wall, sorry, my post. And it's actually so nice to reminisce this because this was really like the turning point of me just being a personal kind of investor and trader doing things for my own like selfish benefit to how things really turned around for me. And so I put this document out, and it didn't go viral, but like it blew up quite a bit. And I started getting people commenting like, "Oh, your content's so good," and like, "I really understand this now," and like, this and that and the other. And then I managed to get them to be, I can't remember exactly how. I remember I was speaking about it in voice chat in the Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, and I got the attention of Brett. And I don't know if any of you guys know Brett. Brett from YouTube, like Brett Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, WG My Studio. And yeah, it's actually so nice to relive. And then so I got the attention of Brett. He said, "Look, I really like the work you're doing. I really like that you're doing this off your own back. Would you be interested in potentially being in contact for doing some work for WGMI, as in content writing and Magic Clubhouse?" And naturally, me thinking, okay, the bear market is coming. How can I build more capital and to take a step further into Web3? Because even though it's not as lucrative as my own real life businesses, I'm actually so much more passionate about it, and I'd rather do something that I'm passionate about. And so that happened. Fast forward like a week, I was a Champs Only pass holder. And I just reached out to Champ and I said, "Hey, look, Brett really likes this document, this ebook that I wrote. Do you want to see it?" And he wanted to see it. And then he saw it, and then he was like, "Wow, this is really good. Like, we could do onboarding someone like you onto the team." And so he employed me he onboarded me onto the team to write. Like, I guess before I say this, I guess my skill set was a little bit like unique because I was someone who could analyze. I had my trading and investment success, but then which meant I could analyze the market. I could have my finger on the pulse of like the whole NFT space. I know how to do technical analysis. I understood like the concept of how to trade and do it successfully. And so that in combination with my educational and academic background, I also knew how to write like, a thesis or like a master's essay kind of thing, in a way that took like quite complex matters and made them into like digestible bite-sized chunks for like the majority to understand. So he was like, "Look, I'm looking to have someone who like knows about a lot, knows how to analyze the whole market, crypto, NFT, the macro, especially the macro. So the macroeconomic state is something that I really like. I'm passionate. I love to study, and that's what's really taken me the step further, because you've got a lot of people who can analyze the NFT space, but when you can analyze like the whole macro, social, geopolitical economy and how you can see things before other people can. Like, so for example, I could see the lunar crash coming before it came, and like I could see the inflation coming before it came just by studying the macro, and I knew that it would have an influence on the NFT space and the crypto space. But anyway, I'm on a tangent, and so that happened, and then Browning from Cyber Gorillas, he saw me posted on Twitter just kind of like some analytical stuff, some alpha, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, look, we're going." This was before the Cyber Kings had launched. And he said, "Look, in a few months' time, we're going to launch Cyber Kings. Like, I can see your growth. That like you're growing so quickly, and your content. I really like your content. Do you mind? Would you be open to talking about potentially, coming on board with us later?" And so I was like, "Hey, yeah, sure. Like, I'm trying to take as much opportunities as I can here." And during this time was when I just launched NFT Café. So to kind of give some background on that, it really started as a how could we help new people come into this space, or less experienced traders, or just people who are experienced but they don't have very much capital. How can we help these people enter the NFT space, or how can we help these people who are in the NFT space but don't have much money? How can we help them, start their journey? So I started a zero point 0.2 to 10 ETH flipping challenge, which actually started really, really well. But then obviously the bear market kind of just destroyed that. So I would do live trading, momentum trading, swing trading, whitelist flipping, kind of giving them strategies, methods, timings, everything of like how we were going to do it. Everything was laid out step by step. And so that's what really like took off my own personal thing in the cafe, which we can touch on later. The fast forward a little while, Cyber Kings just launched. Browning, the founder of Cyber Gorillas, which is like a 70,000 Twitter following collection, like they're really established now. And so now I'm head of alpha there. I run the alpha, the analytics, I run, all that kind of stuff. And then only about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I wake up and I have a DM from Magic Eden, the head of Solana, the head marketplace of Solana. And they're like, "Hey, do you want to jump on a call sometime?" And I'm just like, "Well, this is obviously a scam. Like, why would Magic Eden be DMing me?" And this was like the whole Solana, the Sun narrative was just blowing up. But obviously I did my own due diligence and it was blue tick and it was the legit people. So I jumped on call with them. Really, they just wanted some feedback from me. But then after we spoke and I kind of told them what I do, they said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to work for us or work with us?" Because like as a contractor. And naturally when, a kind of a giant like that comes along, you don't turn down the opportunity, not necessarily for the revenue or the income, but necessarily I'm talking more necessarily for the networking and the connection. And so I'm in talks with that now. That's happening. So as you can imagine, my plate is becoming quite full by this point. And then I don't know if you guys remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And sorry if I'm waffling. Please tell me if I am. But there's a lot to say.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Okay, good. Thank you. So there was a project called the Gents Croquet Club, very prestigious, like, low supply, very, very expensive mint. To get into it, you had to like conduct a interview with a team of interviewers, and you had to apply to get an interview first. That was just the first step. Then you get the interview, and if you pass the interview, then like the founders will decide whether they'll take you on or not. And I didn't really know. Well, I knew about it, but I was just so busy, so I didn't apply. I applied like one day before the deadline, and when we started the interview, like mate, you're so late, and I was like, "Look, I'm really sorry. Is there any chance?" And after we spoke for about 15-20 minutes, he was like, "I really like you as a person. I'm going to put a good word in for you, like specifically as the founder, no, specifically to the founder." And so when no one else was supposed to get in, luckily, I was so fortunate and blessed, I got in. And so that came to mint, and I wrote some alpha in a couple alpha groups and also in my own NFT cafe, and just kind of like in my own personal networks and DMs, I said, "Look, this is why I'm really, really bullish on this project long term. That I know it's an expensive mint. Like with a $4,500 mint, they did it in US dollars. So and then I called it on the secondary market. It was like 3.2 ETH by the time I called it, and then in just 6 days' time, it went up to 17 ETH. So I know a few people got in. Some people got in because they wanted to hold. Some people got in because they wanted to flip. And so that's what, if you do the maths, that's about, it was a 4,500 mint. I called it about 6,000, yeah, just over $6,000. But it peaked at like just over $30,000 in 6 days. I mean, that's $25,000 profit. And some people bought several of them. And so anyway, because I made that call, when other people were doing their onboarding interview call, so to get in there, even if you buy from secondary, you have to interview because it's a very like the type of person in there is like, they're entrepreneurs, they're agency owners, blah blah blah. And so the founder is Iman. I don't know if Iman Gadzi. I don't know if any of you follow him on YouTube, but he's just like a 22-year-old multi-millionaire. Like, he's incredible. He's such a beast. And anyway, so on the onboarding calls, the founder asked him like, "Hey, how did you hear about us? How did you get into the project?" And I think like 5 or 6 different people said, "Oh, like my guy ECNFT over here, he called Alpha on it." And obviously, me being in the community, naturally started to speak to Pete, one of the founders. And then he's recently been like, "Hey man, like I see what you're doing in the NFT space." And I spoke to Ali as well, one of the interview on boarder guys. And he was like, "Hey, how would you feel maybe about coming to lead like the NFT, like kind of like the NFT trading investment, like kind of analytical side of things in the GCC," which is crazy because, it's at the minute it's at a 10 floor, around 8 to 10 floor. And so this is kind of like probably the biggest achievement today. So to kind of sum things up, from that ebook, from me literally just doing a selfless good deed, it's taken me from WGMI Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, which you can see a lot of my work on there if any of you are members, all the way through to Champs Only. I write a weekly analytical newspaper. It's about 15-page weekly breakdown of what's happening in the macro, what's happening on Solana, crypto, Ethereum, upcoming project alpha, applicable strategies, like how you can navigate the current climate. So that's like time consuming, over then to Magic Eden, now to GTC and Cyber Kings. So yeah, that's kind of like the medium version. I didn't want to say too little or too much, and then that's really taken me to here, which is now the NFT Cafe. But yeah, that's kind of the spiel, I guess.
No, you have been killing it. No, you've been in beast mode. That's a fantastic story, right? Yeah, it was literally just a snowball effect of just like you said, you released that ebook. Which do you happen to still have that pinned or public on your Twitter feed?
I don't have it pinned just because a lot of the stuff I started writing became like paid for subscription only stuff. So I unpinned it. However, anyone who's come here, if any of you want a copy of an ebook or any kind of, obviously don't tell other people this, but any kind of like in-depth analytical stuff that I write, just for showing up, I want to show the appreciation. So if anyone wants the ebook, if anyone wants kind of like this week's weekly newsletter, please just keep it to yourself. And I'll give it to either because you're under the drift, right? I can't remember. 9, right?
This is 9. I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, this is 9. That Dean behind the main account.
Yeah. So yeah, more than happy to share that, especially the ebook. But yeah, obviously the champ stuff is like it's like a 1A+ floor, so to access the analytical stuff, then I'm happy to share it, but just keep it to yourself. But we can also just talk about it. It's better to probably listen, and so you can ask interactive questions rather than. So yeah, what I'm trying to say, the long way around, is anyone who wants the ebook, it's a little bit outdated now because of the meta's changed, but still an interesting read.
Yeah, just be sure to follow EC's NFT, and then like I said, he'll just keep it on the low, and he'll be able to share that book with you. Really appreciate that.
Actually, what I'll do is I'll upload it into the NFT Cafe Discord at the end of this, so you can just go and like snag a download quickly. And I'll just leave it there, to be fair. But yeah, we could definitely, for your followers, for hopefully my new followers and new friends, then we can definitely organize that.
Yeah, make sure I think the Discord link for the NFT Cafe is in your bio, correct?
Exactly, in my bio on Twitter. I'm just going to check the link is still working. Right. You never trust these things.
Yeah. Cool. And yes, be sure to jump in there, say hi.
Yeah, I guess leading on to that, I mean, if it's okay with you, I don't want to just be talking this whole time, but I guess I could really give a rundown of what the NFT Cafe is working on now, if you're interested.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So in the beginning, like I said, it was just a server of friends. To be fair, it got to I opened it, there's like 400 people in there, which wasn't bad, just a nothingness. And it was really a 0.2 to 10 flipping challenge. And there was right now the layout's very different. We changed it actually just recently. And so that's why if you come in now, it looks kind of bare, because it literally was only this morning that me and my team deleted all of the old channels, and we've just changed it to this new layout. And I'm working on giving everyone their new roles and There's a whole bunch of different things going on. So originally it was just helping new traders. It was just me. It was like two other people, and just helping new traders flip from point two to 10 via like live streams, via sending people out to get the right whitelist, you know. And then so over time, a guy came in and said, "Hey, can I join your team? I'm good at this." And then another guy came, "Hey, can I join your team? I'm good at this." And now it's just blown up, and we have a team of about 25 individuals. And there are huge plans for it in the future. So shout out to NFT Bounty Hunter. I can see him here. He's one of like the big brains in the project. Um, and so yeah, so originally just that, you know, a hub. But the agreement, because I was working I'm on the champs only team, so the agreement was I don't call alpha in there. But then we had a conversation, and because I'm not calling alpha in champs anymore, you know, my server is, I can do as I please. And so now it's a free educational hub. So it's not an alpha group, because this market is super, super saturated with alpha groups, and there's so many good ones out there. I don't feel like that they need any more competition. And the kind of position we're going for now is that, so NFT TEA obviously stands for tea, because us British are stereotypically known for drinking tea, but also TEA stands for trading, educational, and alpha and analysis. And so what it is yeah, you'll get alpha. You have a team of very, very good alpha callers, some good analytical people, but really you're going to get, you know, trading, education, and the focus is really on education. And before it was just NFTs, and now it's NFTs, crypto. It's going to be real estate. It's going to be how to build your own Web2 company, how to build your own Web3 company. It's going to be how to trade, you know, watches. It's going to be, so what I'm trying to say is it's going to be a comprehensive financial education literacy hub. So, you know, there's so much more to getting rich or wealthy than, you know, earning money. How much money can you earn? It's really about how much money can you retain. If any of you guys are into kind of like the whole wealth mindset, because wealth at the end of the day is a mindset. Like, there's a really, really good book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's a really good fundamental. It gives you the fundamentals and the solid foundation of, like, you know, the solid basic levels of like how to build wealth and generational wealth as well. And so this Discord is becoming like an interactive version of that. So yeah, we have the alpha, we have ETH calls, SOL calls, we're going to have market updates, we're going to have analysis, we're going to have the crypto stuff. But then through my own personal network, we're going to have like how to become a better marketer, you know, how to like manage your time as an entrepreneur so you don't get burnt out, you know, just kind of like stuff like that. And it's what people want. So it's really community driven. So like I ask the community, what do you guys want to learn? And I'll just find a friend. I'll be like, because obviously I'm fortunately I've been quite well connected now in this stage. I'll just find a friend like, hey, I know you're a really good like developer. Can you come and talk about how to get into developing? And like NFT Bounty Hunter here, one of the top salespeople in the US, well previously, I'm like, how can you become a better salesman? I had a friend who flipped up from $2,000 to $850,000 in 1 year, and I'm going to get him to give a present. To be fair, I've been trying to get him to give the presentation for so long, but he's just so busy. But you know, you can get the gist. So that's really the level one of the. I'm not going to call it a roadmap, because we're doing things differently, and I don't see anything like this in NFTs, like at a mass scale. And the team that we put together, you know, and like bear in mind that everyone's doing this for free. Like everyone's doing it out of goodwill of their heart, because they just want to see this space get mass adoption. They want you know, a kid to come into the space and have a great time, make some money, so they go and tell like all their friends and family, like dinner table talk, that how good it is, rather than them going, I got rugged and lost $500, like I hate it. Because that's the only way that we're going to get mass adoption. And you know, it's coming eventually, but it needs, you know, it's human nature to resist change. And if they can see that the change is beneficial, then you know it's going to happen quicker. And so anyway, that's like step one. And then step two, you know, hopefully the long term future. So this isn't just like a here and now kind of thing. I'm thinking, you know, how I was saying that people love to drink tea, people love to drink coffee, and people love to go to internet cafes to play games with their friends. Well, imagine one day you could go to a internet cafe, but an NFT cafe, and trade NFTs with your friends. You could, you know, invest in crypto. You could talk about NFTs with your friends, because I don't know about you guys, but in my own social circle in real life, there's about one other person who likes NFTs, and NFT degens and enthusiasts are spread so far apart around the world. Unless you go to an event like NFT NYC, you're kind of left in straggles. Whereas if there was physical locations you could go and everyone is in there because they love NFTs or something like that. But anyway, that's a very, very long-term vision and a highly ambitious one. But if we don't have ambition, why are we doing anything, right? So yeah, that's kind of the whole rundown on the NFT Cafe at the minute.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. That's one of the things that our pillars is education, right? And that's the sole reason is um, wanting people to come into this space and not have to worry about getting scammed or losing out, on hundreds and thousands of dollars, just because they're just following either hype or what the trend is without really knowing how to either read the market or have sufficient knowledge on how to navigate the space. So, like I said, really love what y'all are doing.
Thank you, man. I love what
It's
you're
definitely
doing
a
as
long
well.
term play. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, we're definitely in no rush, right? Like we're it's so early still, and even though it seems like we've been in the space for so long, it's still so early, and there's still so many different ways for us to be able to teach people and onboard and give a much simpler on ramp to ouch, sorry, my cat just scratched me
that's right.
to crypto or NFTs, right? And um, what you're doing at the NFT Cafe is not only showing them or educating them on the crypto space in general, but the macroeconomics, other financial sectors is huge. And that all plays a part in the industry that we're in. So it's good to know a bit of that knowledge.
Definitely. I mean, macroeconomics is really, if you can understand macroeconomics, you can really win NFTs and crypto. Like it's really straightforward. So what happens is you have a macroeconomic situation or an event. For example, the recent one is the Fed interest rate hike, and it's so obvious what it's going to do to the market. And I'd say about like 70% of people invest in trade blindly, maybe even more. They don't have a clue about why Bitcoin or Ethereum is going up or down, or why NFTs are pumped in a bear market or bull run. And so it's horrible to say, but when someone wins, someone has to lose. And so by understanding the macroeconomic factors, you can be like 10 steps ahead of the man in front of you, predicting this Bitcoin crash. So everyone now is like, oh, my bags are down, like I'm down, everything's red. Whereas like this isn't me tooting my own horn or like anyone who got into this situation, but before this, I anticipated. I moved all of my everything into USDC so that I had the liquidity to now dollar cost average back into those coins at a much lower price. And so, a lot of people they won't even look at a chart, they'll just put the money in. And I mean, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. If you're looking at the 10-year thing, if you put money in even at the peak of, the January, in 10 years, you probably will be up, but it's not the optimal way. It's not the optimal way to trade. And so I guess we could talk about what's happening in the kind of like the macro economy and kind of like the geopolitical issues and how there is a downstream effect, if that's something you want to talk
Yeah,
about.
that's actually perfect. We could slide into just kind of talking about the current conditions and then just a little bit about risk management, how to be risk adverse. And I'm sure it's crazy to think that, there's a lot of people that are in the space that are unaware of stable coins and how to properly use USDC and whatnot. So would love to
Yeah,
start this topic. We can jump into it for sure.
for sure. Well, I guess we should never assume that everyone has equal knowledge of, I guess, finances. Let's just umbrella it and call it finance, right? So if anyone doesn't understand what macroeconomic means, it's just like what's happening in the wider, like the global, like the macro. So something that's happened in the macro would be, for example, like Corona, like it affects the whole world. It's big, right? And something in the micro would be something that's happened specifically in the crypto space. So, for example, the recent collapse of Luna Terra. So, if we're talking about economics, if you hear the term macro and micro, that's kind of what we're referring to. But yeah, really. So, if we're going to give a quick like market update and do a bit of analysis on it, um, obviously in the last few months, everyone, I mean, it's no secret that we have been feeling more and more bearish over time. Overall sentiment is looking worse and worse daily. So it's not just a Discord Twitter or a Twitter bear market. Like, no, I'm saying it's not just a crypto and NFT bear market. Sorry, we've got Twitter and Discord as well. That translates to stocks. Not the directly from Twitter and Discord, but I'm saying what's happening in the macro is translated to stocks. And if any of you follow real estate, you should know that, well, you will know that real estate follows it follows stocks, but about 12 to 18 months later. So stocks are red as well. If any of you follow like index funds like the S&P 500, you know, if you check it regularly, everything's red. And an index fund of the S&P 500 is a collection of like the 500 biggest organizations in the world, whether it's Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, etc. And so any of you who are getting into real estate now, personally, I would say save your capital, because in about a year to year and a half time, you should be able to buy that same property for about half price. And if you're wondering why, before I get into the macro, specifically about the property, it's because, well, the first one I'll speak about is the Fed recently just hiked the interest rates. So if any of you don't know what the Fed is, it's the Federal Reserve. Essentially, it's like the most powerful financial institution, again, essentially like the American bank. They just hiked interest rates. And so that means anyone who's borrowing money has to pay more interest. So to borrow money, that be, you know, for a loan or whatever, but really when you buy a house, unless you're very, very wealthy, you will take out a mortgage. And a mortgage is essentially borrowing money. And so if there's higher interest rates and you're taking out a mortgage, then you are going to have to pay more money to have that mortgage. So what that means is no one's taking mortgages, no one's buying any property, which is exactly what interest rates is trying to do. It's trying to combat the overspending of the overprinted money, and that's what causes inflation, right? And so with the increase in interest rates, that means fewer people are buying. And then if fewer people are buying, that means there's less demand in a market. And if there's less demand in a market, there's more supply. And then with basic understandings of economics, you should know that, you know, a low demand and a high supply means that we're going to see a decrease or value depreciation, which means ultimately a market crash. So smart investors will save capital and wait for these moments, you know, look for good deals. It's like being a kid in a candy sweet shop and everything's cheap. And so yeah, that's just a brief one about the real estate market.
Yeah,
But
I've been actually using that strategy and waiting. Cannot wait actually for this market to crash so I can start scouting out some homes. We just moved to Austin in November, and so kind of settled in a little bit now. And that's exactly what we're trying to do: is just wait, hold our capital, and wait for the market to go down so we can snipe a house.
it's like sniping rare NFTs, sniping rare houses is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so you're implementing the classic. You know, Warren Buffett said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." And that's exactly what smart investors do. So what's happening in the macro is the war in Ukraine, obviously Russia, Ukraine. That's global uncertainty. That's food shortages. That's supply shortages. That's labor shortages. That's geopolitical issues like with transport around the world. So think about, I know in the UK the price of fuel has gone through the roof, like it's almost doubled. But how about in the US, the price of like gas?
It's like about $5. $5.
Is that expensive compared to what it used to be?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I see in Austin a couple months ago, it was about $2.40, and then now it's like around sitting around five. It's
Exactly,
pretty
and
rough.
so that's the war in Ukraine because a lot of oil comes from that part of the country, and then that's also a vicious loop with inflation because oil is more expensive, which means gas is more expensive, but then oil is also used to make fertilizer, and fertilizer is used to make food, and so that's why food prices have gone up, which is another, you know, vicious cycle of the inflation cycle, which is why the Fed have to hike interest rates to combat that inflation. So you can see like it's a very, very complex systemic matter. And so it's not so straightforward as, hey, just put inflation rates up and everything's going to stop, because we also have, even though the pandemic, Corona, is kind of like passing now, we still have like lingering restrictions, whether that be for trading or for, you know, transport. And then we have the Fed, which we touched upon, and we have, as again I touched upon, the global food shortages because of the increase of price for the fertilizer and also for the transport, especially around the Russia-Ukraine kind of part of the world. And then in the micro, we have the recent collapse of Luna Terra. And so yeah, so how does this affect kind of us as an individual? So if you any of you read the Fear and Greed Index, I don't know if any of you know it, but anyway, it's kind of an index that tells you whether people in crypto specifically are in, they're buying in greed or they're selling in fear. And right now we're in extreme fear. Uh, and so extreme fear means inflated supply because lots more people are selling, and the panic and the FUD means a reduced demand, which again, supply and demand, that ultimately drives the value down of our assets, whether that's crypto, NFT stocks, real estate, etc. And yeah, so then you might think, why did the Fed hike their interest rates yesterday? And if any of you don't know, that the FOMC meeting yesterday, they decided on a 75 BPS hike, which essentially just means 0.75%, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're taking out like a huge loan, that's quite a lot. So it's really to combat inflation. And inflation is created by the overprinting of money. And I don't know if any of you guys saw the statistics and saw the charts and the data, but the amount of money that's been printed in the last like 2 or 3 years, I think it's like 20 or 30% of like the entire supply ever. And so obviously inflation rates are through the roof. And then that means prices of living go up. And that means, common people, you and I, workers, they're not able to afford their standard of living because the cost of living is increasing faster than their salary is increasing at work. And then people need a raise at work to maintain their standard of living. But for people to get raises, the company needs to generate more income, right? And so to do this, companies raise the prices of their products or services to get more money to pay their employees more. But then the people buying from that company need another raise to fund their kind of cost of living as well. So again, another vicious cycle. So when you understand the macro, you can really understand how everything's happening, and you can see all this, like the warning signs coming before it happens. And so it might seem boring to some people, but it gets you one step ahead of the game. And so all of this, so how does this affect us? So you're all probably thinking, like, why are you telling all of us this? So you're all probably, what happens is crypto and NFTs are risk on assets. Risk on meaning like they're riskier. They're not risk off. Like real estate is risk off. Crypto NFTs, digital assets essentially are risk on. They're intangible. So speculative assets. So they're the most risky. So being risky, people think, okay, I need to save money. So they liquidate their assets. And with that, again, everyone liquidating at the same time in a mass numbers, increase supply. No one's buying, the price comes down. And so, all of this is indicative that we're about to head into a pretty bad recession. Some masterminds that I listen to and really respect think that it's going to be a global depression. One that was as bad as like World War II or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, that's I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what's happening in the global economy and how it's affecting us directly right now. And so you're probably thinking, okay, tell us some good news. So when can we expect a reversal? When can things get better? So the catalyst for things to really improve is probably going to be when the Fed pivot, like when there's a change in the Fed's behavior, and when the macro economy kind of like sorts itself out. Because whilst the macro situation is brutal, we cannot expect to see, especially risk on assets, so speculative assets like NFT and crypto to thrive. And obviously because of what happened yesterday with the Fed, Bitcoin and crypto will continue to get wrecked, and subsequently NFTs will continue to get wrecked alongside them. And until we see the Fed kind of pivot away from their aggressive stance, their hawkish stance, we can't really assume that we're at the bottom. So everyone who's like, oh, crypto and NFTs are so low right now, I don't think we're at the bottom. But this doesn't mean that this isn't a good time to dollar cost average. We'll talk about that in a minute. And so crypto and NFTs are at the mercy of the traditional sector, as in like, the centralized government. And the centralized government, the traditional sector is at the mercy of the Fed. So that's kind of the bad news. But the good news is those who follow closely and those who understand what they're doing can really capitalize on the bear market and make serious money. Like, this is where generational wealth is made. I'm not talking like, okay, when it's the bull run, you can get in and out of an NFT project, you can make like a few $100, like whatever. But like, if you know how to capitalize on the bear market, especially one this bad. Like this is a golden opportunity. This is like a generational opportunity. So everyone else is thinking this is so scary, and myself and other like kind of people who have been trading and investing for a while, they're seeing this as like the best opportunity, maybe even a once in a lifetime opportunity, because bear markets aren't usually this bad. Like recessions aren't usually this bad. And so, yeah, what do you think? Do you want to check? I know I've been talking for a
Yeah,
long time, so
yeah, no, no, I was thinking the same thing because people say this has happened to the crypto space before, but it really hasn't, right? We've never experienced this global um, uh, the macroeconomics be this poor, right? And uh, this is the first time we've also had big institutions, large companies joining the crypto industry as a whole. So, um, you know, with this bear market, just being able to capitalize and just be patient and wait for things to kind of settle out is a great opportunity.
definitely, man. Like, yeah, and again, please tell me if I waffle. I hope it's interesting and useful though. But yeah, so do
Hello.
you want me to kind of mention a bit
Sorry.
about kind of can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. It was a little choppy earlier, so I was making sure I didn't cut off again. I was in fear that we were going to get rugged.
Yeah, I just feel I feel a little bit self-absorbed. I'm talking all the time. I hope is it all right? Is
No,
it
no, no,
interesting? Is it
no.
okay?
This is all very insightful. I didn't want to break any flow because this is all great information, and it's stuff that people, even though, like you said, it might sound boring, but this is stuff that you really need to know just so that you can be aware of what's going on and prepare yourself for any kind of like market changes, especially if it's this really isn't the bottom yet, right? And so we could see it go down even further. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, we love it. We love it. It's very insightful. So.
Should we talk a little bit about kind of how people can navigate this situation in, or how they can apply themselves in like the most effective way?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that and maybe some risk.
Yeah, risk management for sure. Like obviously, it's so important. But what one can do, and again, this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm personally going to be doing. Um, NFTs right now being the most speculative asset, given they are the newest. So people have a opinion about crypto. They're like, it's kind of new, but it's kind of proven. Like technically, Bitcoin's been around since like 2013, but it really obviously only took off in a couple years, well, a couple years ago. NFTs really actually only caught traction maybe last year. Obviously, we had crypto punk, 2017, 18. So that means that in terms of asset classes, NFTs are by far the newest and the most volatile and speculative. So if you're like, I'm just going to do NFTs and nothing else, then unless you're going to be buying blue chips, like proven blue chips, it's more of a gamble. So I would say if you're doing NFTs, which I personally am not right now, the only options that I would really be looking at are the blue chips that have stood the test of time, and we can expect to see the floor prices bleed a bit more. Obviously, we have these like degen free to mint kind of meme project that you can profit from, but I'm not really interested in that right now. So I would only really be looking at Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, Clone X, because they're backed by Nike and something like Doodles. They're the only ones that I'd feel comfortable placing a longer term bet on. But in terms of a more accessible strategy to everyone, and I'm all about advocating safety and not gambling, because one big win might cost you a lot of like money to lose before you hit that. So I'm thinking about like consistent, safe wins, because at the end of the day, who's ever lucky enough to hit that moon bag? Like you always read about it online, but it's never you, it's never me anyway. So one of the safest strategies is the dollar cost average into Bitcoin with long term intentions, especially right now, or not right now, but like in the next 6 months. So if you believe that crypto is coming back, like if you believe that crypto could be the future, which I personally do, now might be a great time to start buying. But when I say buying, I mean dollar cost averaging. And again, I'm just gonna go back to the basics. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like, you set a time, you set a day or days in a week and a certain amount of money, and you just do it. You just like say you have $10,000 in your bank account and you put in $500 every Monday for 20 weeks. and it takes out that emotional aspect. It combats the volatility. And so, yeah, if you're investing in Bitcoin now, it's likely in 2 to 5 years you're going to be easily do like a 5 to 10x. And if you have a large amount of money, then you know that it's better than money sitting in the bank. If you put 100K in, then that could be 500 to 1 mil, 500K to 1 mil. And I'm talking about a time frame of like 2 to 5 years, but it might not be. Could be shorter, could be longer. Who knows? But only do it if it's your belief. And it's likely, in my opinion, that crypto is probably going to consolidate for a few months, maybe even a year at the lower levels because of the macro before we enter another kind of bull run. Patience is definitely the key, and not investing is definitely the key. So when we're talking about risk management, it's if you're putting money in, it's making you feel sick to your stomach at night just thinking about it, then you're probably going to be overinvested, especially whilst it's so volatile right now. But if you think about it in this sense, so let me give you an example. Some people love to try to time the market perfectly. But if you buy Bitcoin at 18,000 versus 22,000, 20,000, I don't know, that's either between a £3,000 to £4,000 spread, like a difference. But if you're thinking about in 3 to 5 years when Bitcoin potentially hits, 100K, 200K, if we get mass adoption, that tiny 3 to 4,000 spread right now is going to be so insignificant. So if you're stressed about investing, then there's no need to try and time the market. Obviously, it's worth mentioning some other crypto coins. So we've got like Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Binance, Polkadot, Matic, which, given how bad the macro is, I personally am sticking with the safest option, which is Bitcoin. But yeah, so it doesn't have to be digital asset classes. It can be, like I said, stocks, real estate. I wouldn't recommend watches because they follow a different pattern. But really, like a really good strategy is just to sit on the sideline, observe, educate yourself, because there are going to be some very, very, very good opportunities coming our way your way, our way, my way, between this next 6 months. And, it could take up to 2 or 3 years to sort out the kind of macro environment because of how bad it is. And so, yeah, staying liquid, sometimes doing nothing is quite a good idea. Maybe like if you have a job, if you have a side hustle, if you have a business, just save up some capital so you have money when this opportunity comes. I'm sure you all know the feeling, like you've just invested all your money into an NFT project, then you see such a great opportunity, but you don't have any money to invest in it. It's happened to me so many times. So yeah, staying liquid and observing and educating yourself is sometimes just the biggest win. And jumping on that opportunity when it does come, you're gonna create, if you get it right. And right now it's not that hard. Like you say, Bitcoin at 20,000, all-time high of 69,000. Even if it just hits its all-time high, that's already a ×3. And you're not going to do that anywhere else. At a 200 or 300% kind of return on investment. If you do stocks or a mutual fund or the S&P 500, you might get like 10% a year. So if we put it into perspective, it's actually a really, really good ROI. Everyone wants to get rich overnight. Everyone wants a get rich quick scheme, but that doesn't even really exist unless you win the lottery or you bought like 10 Bored Apes from launch. So it's all about patience and getting rich quicker. Then no one wants to be 60, 65 and then be like, okay, now I'm rich because you have no time. Like, I'm 26. I'm hoping to be fully retired, like, and comfortable by the time I'm 35 latest. And so these are the opportunities that are going to allow that to happen. So yeah, if you're learning, educating yourself, hanging around in the bear market, you're definitely going to be one step ahead of the curve. And like I said, in the NFT Cafe, we teach all of this, but on a regular basis, because this market moves so quickly. And so that's something you can come and kind of like enjoy. And obviously in the paid alpha groups that I'm in, there's a different level of detail because obviously I'm not really about conflict of interest. I'm not trying to give one thing for free that someone else has to pay for. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess that kind of covers everything. Do you have anything to add, Nine?
Yeah. No, I was just gonna just chime in, and I noticed a few people jumping in, but if you guys can go ahead and share the space, I just wanted to reset the room real quick, and if you guys can just go ahead and share the space, there's a lot of great, insightful information that's being shared right now. I'm noticing a lot of great comments in the Discord server, so please let everybody know that we're having this discussion with EC NFT, and would love for more people to hear about it because this is very useful information. Um, and before jumping into that next topic, um, I wanted to. I know a few of these I'm looking through right now. A lot of these individuals look like they are already in the NFT space, but um, I wanted to kind of discuss for any kind of newcomers when they're jumping into the space. What do you typically recommend for them uh, to to do, or their approach once they want to learn more about crypto or NFTs?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and actually a really, really important one. So I would really, really say, especially now given the current climate, I would spend like hours doing homework, researching, right? Because if you come in and you have a set amount of capital and you don't have a job or something, that's like your chunk of money, that's your investment. And yeah, okay, everyone wants everything. Yesterday, we live in a society. No, we live in a society of delayed no, that lacks delayed gratification. We cannot wait for anything, me included. And so we come in, we have $1,000. We just want to win now. Like we want to throw our money and we want someone else to do it. We want someone else to tell us what to do, and we don't want to think about it, right? Because that's just how we're wired as humans. But I was lucky I did that, but it was in literally the euphoria stage. But if you come and do that now, I can probably 99% say with certainty, um, in NFTs that is, that you're gonna lose money unless you're putting in a good project and doing for a long-term hold. So I personally wouldn't be looking at any small to mid-cap projects of NFTs. I wouldn't be looking at any small to mid-cap crypto coins either. But what I would do is I would jump into AMAs like this. I would jump into Discords like not just my own NFT cafe. You have the Magic Mushroom Clubhouse. You've got a lot of like entry point um, Discord. I would watch tons and tons of YouTube. Like there are so many good content creators and influencers on YouTube. And that's something that I'm going to look into doing myself in the future because I do feel like there's a gap in the market for the education side of things. There's obviously you've got Champ who's always spitting like the most fire alpha. You've got like Ryan in crypto who's doing like crypto stuff, but no one's really telling people how to do things. So that's maybe something I'm going to look at in the future. Um, Reading books, I'd say reading books that aren't that necessarily uh, specific to crypto and NFTs, but broad topics of financial literacy. So I mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. You've got Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. You know, even stuff like the psychology of like the placebo effect. Like there's so many different aspects that come into being a good trader because it's such an emotional game. So we've got like books by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's all about the psychological factors of like not necessarily trading, but how to master your own mind. Because to be a good trader, you need to have ice cold emotions. Like you need to, well, I'm sure you know that FOMO, right? That FOMO you feel. You need to learn to combat your emotions, and emotions really signal. So if you're feeling greed, then it's probably time to sell. If you're feeling bored, you know, it's time to step back. So there are ways to learn how to navigate your emotions as a trader as well. We've got a few other books. We've got I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's by Ramit Sethi. It's kind of how to generate wealth in abundance. And another book called Profit First by Ramit Sethi as well. So, I mean, if you're coming into the space with $500, maybe you should work on building more capital first whilst educating yourself. Because it's a lot of pressure. Like if you invest 100%, if you have $500 in an NFT project cost you $495, then you're 97% invested, and that's quite stressful. And then obviously the emotional side gets the best of you. So I would, anyway, I'm waffling again, but I would to kind of scale that back. I would watch YouTube. I would read books. I would talk to people. I would jump into AMAs. I would read. You know, I would trade metaphoric. I would trade like theoretically, like you visually use your mind to. Okay, I would trade. I would do this. I would do that. Have a notepad. Look at trades. I would have bought this now. Look at it. Follow it and see what the outcome is. Learn from mistakes on paper, and then do it in real life. Because if you lose big in the beginning, then it's likely you're going to hate NFTs forever. Like I've made big losses, but I've made huge, huge losses before, and I was like, I hate this. I'm done forever. So yeah, that's kind of it. Really, really what I'm trying to get at is education, educate yourself. Don't, you know, you have your whole life ahead of you. This isn't going anywhere. We're at the infancy in the NFT kind of market life cycle. Um, this isn't going anywhere. This is only going to get bigger. Of course, the trading's going to get harder because the market's getting more saturated. But there are more ways to make money. For example, you could be a mod, you could be a content writer, you could be a graphic designer. You know, if you have a skill, offer it up to people who are in a good position already. You know, that's exactly what I did. But yeah, I hope that kind of answered the question.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And you're actually leading into another question that I wanted to cover for people. We've been getting a lot of individuals kind of asking on how do I get into the space as a profession or to make a career. And you were mentioning,
Sorry, could you ask that?
moderation.
Oh
Hello.
yeah, did you say how can you step into this space as like a job?
Yeah. So we've been getting questions on how can I get my foot into the door into the industry and create a profession within Web3. And so, what are your thoughts on I guess position or roles that they can kind of act as like an entry level role to get them going in Web3?
Yeah, really good question again, because obviously that's not something that's always easy to answer. So I'd say the answer is really subjective to the individual, right? So for some people, it's going to be much easier if you come into the NFT space and you've got 10 years work experience, at the biggest software engineering firm in the US, right? You're going to come in and you're going to be like, hey, I don't know about in the US, but in England, we have a company called Bloomberg. Do you have that in the US? It's like a really big software company.
Yeah. Oh,
So let's say you come in and
go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
let's say you come in and you've been working at Bloomberg and you can write contracts and you can do anything like that. You're gonna step into like a role much easier than someone else, because you know. And so if you come in and you're a graphic designer, I mean every project needs a graphic designer. Everyone needs a UI UX kind of design. If you have So what I'm trying to say, rather than giving more examples, is if you have a skill, a niche, um, then you're going to come in and you can use that. Like I'm fortunate enough to have, I guess, an academic background. I could come in and write. So I wrote something. Not that I'm a writer, but I just improvise. And so saying that, you know, you're thinking, where do I? Okay, that's great. I have this skill. Where do I go? So I actually started in. I don't know if any of you guys know the NFT Cafe. No, sorry, not the NFT Cafe. Sorry, the NFT Academy. Brett runs the NFT Academy. It's like a marketing slash network slash like hub. Um, and then so I posted my in real life resume. I said, hey, look, my name's blah blah blah. I'm from the UK. Is anyone looking for any kind of work? And the amount of people who just need a moderator, you know, and sometimes you have to work for free in the beginning. If you don't have a resume, you don't have any skill to your name or a reputation. Like the first kind of few things I did, it was just a free gig, and then I got offered my first paid one, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like I'm now something I'm doing anyway. I'm getting paid for it, and so moderating, you know, you just sit in general chat, you just talk. In terms of other skills, you know, let's say you have like an exceptional skill, you can go to, let's just say champs only because that's what I did. You can, hey, look, I've got this. Do you want to see it? You know, you just have to hustle. Like in real life, if you've got if you have a special skill, then go to someone, offer it to them for free, show that you can bring them value, and then ask for something. Right? Everything that I did in the first job that I did for anyone, I always did it for free because you want to show that your intentions are pure. You're not in it for the cash. You want to show that you're a good person. And I think that a lot of the times that people wanted to take me on board, it wasn't necessarily because my skills are better than someone else's. It's maybe the approach I took to it. So I was always, even like it boils down to being punctual. I was always like I always tried to be like overly friendly and like compensate and do like way more than they would ask me to. So they were like, can you write me a 10-page document on this topic? And I would go ahead and write them like a 20-page document just off my own back. And that doesn't just apply to Web3 and NFTs. This applies to all walks of life, right? And just by being a humble, kind of integral, like someone with humility, it just goes a long way. So to kind of, again, I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah, really, NFT Cafe, no, and the NFT Academy is a good place to start. And there's actually a really good video by Brett on YouTube, and it's called like 7 skills that you can 7 ways to make money without trading NFTs or something along those lines. Like if you guys want to see it, I can find that at the end of the video. But it lifts off. You can be a dev, you can be a mod, you can be an artist, you can be, so be, what I'm trying to say is be creative, improvise. There are so many different ways to monetize your time in the NFT space. And again, being a collabs manager, being a marketer, so that's kind of like a broad overview. If anyone has any like, we can do questions at the end, and then if anyone has like a specific question to their own personal situation, then we can talk about that. But did I kind of like cover it mostly?
Yeah, yeah, no, most definitely. I love the fact that there's also, like, for example, I know there's a couple of people on on our team that are a part of Root Troop community, and then what they're doing at Root Troop over there is having that the job market board, right, and the bounties. So things like that. There's a lot of great or helping rather people find work within the industry. So uh, yeah, big ups to Root Troop.
Exactly. And especially in the bull run, obviously right now, Discord's a little bare, but if you just go into one community and spend a lot of time there, sometimes you'll get noticed. They'll be like, hey, I noticed you're here a lot. And all it takes you to get that one job, and then you have a reference, right? I'm a mod here. Can I mod here? And that's why I said work for free in the beginning. Um, so you can go and say to someone, hey, look, I'm a mod here. Go and ask them how I did. Do a great job. Do way more than what is asked of you in the beginning, and word spreads through word of mouth. So like I said, I've been so fortunate enough that all I do right now, like when I entered the Gensco K Club, I put my resume out just because of my current experience and what I'm doing. I've had countless amount of people reaching out to me in meetings saying, hey, will you come and advise for my project? Or hey, will you come and do this? And it's simply just because in the beginning I wrote that document for free. Like I just wanted to do a good thing for people. And obviously I did a couple mod jobs for free as well. But if I didn't do that for free off my own back, this I probably would have not been in this situation. I know not everyone. What I'm trying to say is that everyone has their thing. Like even if you think you don't have a skill, if you look deep inside you, like everyone has a skill. Or writing is not necessarily a skill, but like everyone can do something. And if you can't, you can learn. All you have to do is have a little bit of conviction yourself and be willing to put the time and effort in the beginning if you don't have the skill, because you're going to need to show that you're so committed to learning that they're not going to mind to give you the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, he hasn't done it before, but let's give him a shot because he's a great person, or he or she, they're a great person. They're so keen. I can see they're motivated. And yeah, so you understand what I'm trying to say? Like you don't necessarily have to have something, but you can make something of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so magical and what's so amazing about the industry that we're currently building or in, right? Is that it has provided so many opportunities for individuals that would never have this chance before, right? Artists, obviously, and then just a lot of individuals that are making a career out of either modding or doing something within the projects, and I guess I don't want to say third world countries, but countries that usually don't have the access to these kind of things. So. Um,
Exactly. And it's magical. Like it's a magical space, and you get to speak to people from all over the world. And like I said, that in 3 to 5 to 10 years, when this gets mass adoption, and let's say Nike, JP Morgan, these huge companies like Amazon, they're saying, okay, we don't know what NFTs are. We're looking for someone who does. Like everyone who's here now is going to be so useful. So if I don't know, I'm not old enough to remember, but I don't know if any of you guys are, the dot-com boom. I just know it from reading. Even back then, just to have a website built, like a basic website built, it would cost the company like $100,000. Now you can go and build a website on what's it called, Wix or something like that. Now NFTs are so complicated, and then to get like a smart contract writer, like it's so expensive. But when there's mass adoption, like everything can be simplified, and all you're gonna have to have is the knowledge, and that's what you get. That's what you're learning now is the technology and the knowledge of the NFT space. And so, if you feel like you're wasting your time, trust me, you're not. Like you're early to like probably one of the biggest like turning points in kind of human technology, in my opinion, so far. Because yeah, .com is cool, like websites are cool, but like metaverse, NFT technology, crypto, Web3 technology, that's like a whole other ball game, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, most definitely agreed. And um, kind of backpacking earlier, I wanted to also touch finding resources is always difficult for newcomers or individuals that are looking to continue to learn. What are some tools that you use either for just either trading, learning, or anything that's been useful for you during your journey in NFTs?
Yeah, good question. So obviously, I'm quite a visual learner. I read a lot, but I'm also a big visual learner. So YouTube was a big one. When I was learning to trade, I would watch a lot of Sajad. I don't know if you know him. He's like the Indian Pakistani guy. He's from the UK. He does a lot of like not alpha videos like a lot of influencers, but he's like a hardcore trader. Like he will teach you how to swing trade, like what signals to look out for when you're looking to take an entrance, what entrance you're looking when you're trying to sell, and kind of like how to not get wrecked. He'll teach you how to do like reveal trading. And he actually has a alpha group called the Wizard Class, which I bought 5 from Mint. It cost me quite a lot of money because I thought because of his experience in trading, it was going to go up a lot. But it stayed kind of stable. But anyway, so YouTube is a big one. In terms of tools, I would never trade blindly. So, if you're just buying on OpenSea and not looking at charts or anything, I know not everyone can afford tools, but I would say instead of buying that NFT, first invest in the minimum is IC tools. So you can see charts, you can see floor prices, you can see support lines, resistance things. And if anyone wants to do a a chart reading technical NFT technical analysis 101 crash course or something, like I'm happy to jump in your server sometime and just do like a half hour, like how do you read charts, because it will change your trading game if you're not using them. Trading blindly is like such a bad idea in my opinion. But I use NFT Nerds. It's a paid for subscription, like it's quite expensive, but it's the ultimate trading software, ultimate trading tool, sorry. So that's really helpful in terms of trading. In terms of elsewhere, I guess really it's just been networking, speaking to the right people, and I guess a bit of serendipity, as in being lucky to, if I tried to do what I did now and put the book out, maybe because the bear market, it just wouldn't have happened like it did. But I say that with luck, but to get to where I'm not anywhere near where I want to be in my journey, but like to have this small chunk of success so far, I wouldn't say that it was luck. Like I work really, really, really hard as well. Sometimes most of my days are like 12 to 15 hours per day, every day. Sometimes for like the first 3 months when I was getting my foot in the door, it was 7 days a week as well. And so to get started, I'd say you have to put the effort in. And if you don't have a lot of capital to begin with, then you have to put the hours into study so because you don't have the luxury of messing around. Like you need to get it right. But once you hit that first big win, then you have a lot of capital to play around with. And if you work a 9 to 5 and it's difficult because you haven't got time or you have children, like if you want something bad enough, you just make it happen. And that maybe you get 1 hour a day, which you sit on the TV, you sit and watch TV or something and relax, that you can spend that learning about like if you have a vision, you can like, where do I want to be? Like you need to change your mindset, like how do I get there, rather than just being like, oh, it's not going to happen or something. So yeah, in terms of getting started, I can't really think of much more. Again, the trading tools, YouTube, learning. Again, it all just really boils back to education, because the more you know, knowledge is power. That's how it's gonna that's how you're gonna excel in your own kind of journey.
Yeah, no, yeah. I always, a lot of my friends are. I always tell them, when they're trying to learn or get into it, I always tell them that I want their time and not their money. Your time is the most valuable thing, and putting in the time and effort to learn all these things would make you a lot more money than if I were just to tell you what to put money into, right? So that actually leads. It's funny because you're like perfectly flowing into all of these questions that I'm wanting to ask, and you were mentioning networking, and for those individuals, I know we got a lot of either introverts or just individuals that are on the computer that don't really know how to navigate with networking or finding individuals to open up their networks. What are some tips and tricks you have for people to kind of get started in expanding their network?
Yeah, good question. So, in terms of being an introvert, are you talking about on the microphone, or just typing? I don't know whether being an introvert on like speaking translates to being an introvert on the keyboard. I'm not sure.
No, that is. I mean, you can ignore my introvert. I'm just maybe I was just should not have been assuming that the majority of the people behind the keyboard are introverts, but just generally, I guess a lot of people that are new to this space are just kind of yeah, new to just reaching out and building networks and expanding networks. Well, what are some tips and tricks that you would recommend?
Yeah, so again, very, very good question. I guess if we're going to talk on a friend level, so we're not talking about a professional entry, as in you're not looking for a job, you're just looking to find your tribe here. A really good thing to do is just hang out, find a project that you really like find the art that you like, go in the community, see if you vibe in general chat, if it's busy enough for you, and just hang out there, hang out there. And after a week, after like not even a week, sorry, after like 1 or 2 days, you'll start to recognize someone's name, and you'll just naturally have conversation because that's what we do, right? We're social beings. We're here to have conversation, and eventually, it just happens that like you send them a DM, be like, oh hey, it's good to reach out to you. Let's talk in DMs, and you just get to know them naturally, and then you just build like one friend, two friend, three friend. Like when I started, I didn't have a single friend on my Discord list, and it was just really hanging out in Discord servers. And then before you know it, you've got 5 friends, and then you're just like, hey, why don't we just make a group chat because we're all talking anyway? And then you've got 5 people, and that means 5 more brains. And if you're looking for alpha and scrolling through Twitter or watching charts for momentum trades, you've got 5. You've got 5 sets of eyes. You've got 5, 10 eyes, 10 eyeballs altogether, and that's way more efficient than doing it by yourself. And so, what I would encourage is just to find a project you like and just hang out there. And even bonus points for even better if you can go in VC, if you can go and voice chat and talk to people because you have this personal touch right there. I know the whole point of Web3 is being anonymous, but I always go and voice chat. I always turn my webcam on because I'm just like, hey, I'm not really like trying to be anonymous here. I got nothing to hide. I think being transparent, people trust you a bit more. And so VC is a big one as well. But if you're trying to do it professionally, if you're looking for work, like we already touched on that briefly, but obviously you've got alpha groups. A lot of them are free, a lot of them are paid. Right now in the NFT Cafe, the chat's quite quiet because I've recently just stripped away all the utility whilst we kind of reconstruct the Discord. So before there was lots of posts, but right now I was even going to close general chat, but I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah, so even if you don't have your community, like I say, come back in a week or two to the NFT Cafe one, and general chat's usually like pretty busy, and especially in the bull run, like when we're doing live trading, I'd say, hey, I'm going to VC, and there'd be like 50 people all jump in, and so then all of a sudden you've got 50 friends, and so yeah, this really community building, networking is all done in Web3, is all done via Discord. But one day, hopefully, maybe in 5 years, you'll just be able to go to a physical NFT cafe and network there with some real people.
Yeah, no, that'd be sick. In Austin, I'm actually going to an event tonight. I think it's either the first or one of the first permanent NFT galleries that just opened up here in Austin. So I'm gonna go and check that out tonight. They're gonna have a little happy hour. But yeah, that'd be fantastic, right? Where we can just kind of pull up in any location and just kind of just talk about NFTs and trade and whatnot, and share experiences, talk to artists. So that'd be that's the
and
future.
even
The future we're building toward.
exactly, and people to help you trade because if you say, hey, I'm going into this play because I think this is going to be the catalyst, they'll be like, oh, hey, have you thought about this? Like, have you looked at there's not been a supply shock yet, so don't enter that trade yet. Like it's so good to have smart people around you because they will spot things that you don't, because after like 10 hours on the computer your eyes start to become a bit lazy.
Yeah, and there's just something a lot more different whenever you're in person, right? Because you're getting a different sense of energy whenever you're with individuals in person, and the type of ideas or things that can spur up in the moment when you're in real life is a little bit different than being behind a computer or monitor.
Exactly, you
So
can't hide. Like it's you in the flesh, and you get to
yeah,
know people at a personal level, which I think is amazing.
yeah, I completely agree.
Sure.
I know. So we're coming into about an hour and a half. Definitely want to make sure we're respectable, and we would love to get some questions. I know there's probably a bunch of questions that people have and want to ask you. I
That's
think
fine.
that's just about everything that I really wanted to cover. I wanted to make sure that we covered as much stuff to equip individuals with the basic and foundational knowledge to kind of continue to navigate the space. So I did have one more thing. You were mentioning in your Discord server previously when you first started, you guys were doing the start with 2F and see where you can flip up to, or how where you can go from there with the trading. We're actually we created a little investment club within the Drift community, and we're utilizing what is the platform, starts with a syndicate, and then we create a little investment club just for educational purposes, right? So we have like a little pool going and a group of people jumping in, and we're going to be analyzing trades and acquiring NFTs together as just like a little project we're doing within the community. So anytime you want to kind of jump in and show us the ropes, or if you want to I guess critique anything that we're doing, we would love to have you in and participate.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to connect on that level. Like any way that I can contribute, as long as it's beneficial to you guys, I would love to. Even if it's you're like, hey, we're looking at making this trade, and I'll be like, oh, I heard some news or something, and there's some FUD. I was like, even if I just say, hey, don't do that right now. I mean, that'd be sweet actually. Is it just like a bunch of people put some liquidity together so you have more to play with?
Exactly. So we have we're utilizing Snapshot to kind of do our proposals and our voting, and then we have a small group. I'm not too sure how many people we have at the moment, but I think we have almost about looks like we have 1.65 Ethereum right now inside the pool. And so any individuals that have invested into this investment club will be participating, and then I think if I can get the dates right, I think we're closing off the application fairly soon to join. Let's see, trying to find some dates here. But Dean is he's leading this project, and like you said, it's just mainly just for educational purposes, right? We want to be able to sit down with the community and kind of talk through some of these trades and some of these thought processes when it comes to either acquisition or selling NFTs. And we'd love to have you. I'm trying to see when.
For sure, yeah. Keep me. Oh, I keep muting my mic.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find the. No worries. I'm just trying to find the time we're closing off the signups for it, or. But yeah, would love to get that going fairly soon. And once Dean gets back, I'm sure that's whenever the ball will start rolling on that, and we'll see if we can. Trying to read. It looks like there's a question on Discord. It looks like we've touched on just a little bit, but Rayra was asking advice for someone who's completely new joining the space during the bear. So I know we touched a little bit about just making sure that you educate yourself in terms of just either what's going on within the macroeconomics, and then also just using resources like YouTube, asking questions. But is there anything else that we possibly missed or can add to that question? Just any other advices, I guess, for people joining during this bear market?
Yeah. Bear markets are very, very harsh and rough if you don't know. If you don't have experience and you don't have guidance, because when you first enter the space, it doesn't matter whether you are a pro, stock trader, or a pro investment banker, whatever. It's a complete different ball game, NFTs, and I'm assuming we're talking NFT specific. So coming in the market in the bear, emotions are heightened by a lot, and this is why people end up buying. When they see the chart going up, they buy, and because of FOMO, they buy. Like it's fact. They always buy because of FOMO, and they see the price coming down in the bear, and they sell because of panic. And this is the whole classic conundrum of buy high, sell low, which is almost like a meme in Web3. And so coming into the bear, you're going to be seeing things coming down all the time. So it's going to be quite a scary time for someone. And so really, unless you have enough capital to capitalize on these golden opportunities, which again is quite scary. If you haven't experienced it before and you see a very, very good deal, but it's going to cost you like $5,000 or more, because let's say for example, we know what Mutant Ape's all-time high is 44, 45 ETH or something like that. And right now it's sitting at like, I don't know, I haven't even looked, but I imagine it's around like 14, no, maybe like 20 ETH, 14 ETH or something like that. Let's say it comes down to like
Looking at
8 ETH.
16.6.
So, yeah, so that's fairly low. I mean, 16, that's about 33% off its all around that. And yeah, so you come in and you see Mutant H come down to like 8 ETH. And I mean, I know that's an absolute bargain because I know the whole Yuga Lab ecosystem. I know like the capabilities and the future roadmap and stuff. I know the past of Yuga Labs as well. And so for me, that would be a golden opportunity, because I think that in the next bull run it will go up, to its all-time high more. So that would be a huge return on investment. But if you just come into it, you might not be able to spot these opportunities. So first of all, it's education, of course, as we spoke about a lot. How to spot these opportunities, because they're probably popping up in front of so many people all the time. But if you don't know how to see them, and then obviously if you know how to see them, it's about hanging around long enough so that when they come, you have the courage to enter. Because even if it comes down to 8 ETH, well, even ETH right now at, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Oh,
you
right,
had,
my
had
phone's
cut
just
off just a tad bit.
yeah, my phone's just glitched out. So yeah, even if ETH at $1,000, let's say, but it's still 8 ETH, that's still $8,000. And so for a lot of people, like for all of us, that's a lot of money. And so how have that like emotional numbness? Like how are you gonna know? How are you gonna have that conviction that that's a good deal? Like for you and I, and probably a lot of people here, we know that's a great deal. But if you're just entering the space, like that's gonna be terrifying to lock up 8,000 of your hard-earned money. If that's like, for a lot of people, that's like a fourth of their wealth, or a yearly salary. If you have a good job. And so really it's about getting exposure to the market, and all you can do is hang around. Whatever spare time you have, just around. And so but yeah, in terms of really navigating the market, just listen to smart people. Do what smart people are doing, follow smart money. So
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for answering that question. Um, it looks like I think we're ready to take on any questions from anyone. So if you guys want to request to come up and ask any questions, um, feel free to request and we'll get them answered. Uh, really, really great stuff from ECNFT, and so we're really, like I said, I've been excited. I know the team has been excited to get you on, so you can provide some insight to the space, and we know that you've been uh, very successful, from your journey getting into NFTs and where you're at now. You're quite busy with all of the other companies and projects reaching out to you for work. So thank you very much for being on. Oh no, it looks like he might have been rugged. We'll wait for him to jump back on. But if y'all have, like I said, questions, feel free to come up. This is a great chance to, if you have any kind of questions, right, in regards to, um, uh, the space or how to navigate it. If you have anything that you're stuck on, feel free to ask, and um, we can get you up here. Looks like, yeah, he said he got rugged. So we'll give him a little bit of time to get back up. Let's see. I guess I answered Phoenix's question while we're waiting for EC to come back. But in regards to just the education aspect for the project, this is the kind of stuff that we're really focusing on, is to be able to bring industry experts to come and talk about these type of topics, and these foundational or basic information. We want to make sure that we can cover all the grounds and empower the community as much as possible to 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 be able to make sound decisions and proper investments, right? So bringing in closed doors. It looks like you said his Twitter died. Closed doors, AMAs. We would love to expand this and provide workshops. Just need to take another words. Yeah, it looks like he might not be able to come back on. I'm just double checking. But yeah, just being able to provide even small workshops or different type of seminars and webinars for the Drift community, right? We want to make sure we cover all. Yeah, might not be able to come back on. It looks like take another. Yeah. It looks like he won't be able to hop back on. So if you did have any questions, I would say just drop it into the Discord, and then we can get it asked. He's in the Discord server as well, so I think he'd be down to take any questions. But um, yeah, we want to provide these type of opportunities and help expand people's knowledges in regards to the crypto space, financial, even just well-being, right? We want to make sure that as you're continuing in this journey of Web3 going into Web4, that you have all your grounds covered. You're equipped with all of the information and knowledge to make sure that you're risk adverse, right? A lot of this is just being risk adverse and risk management. So that's the type of content for educational that we would continue to bring in. It's just making sure industry experts join. I think we'll begin talking about DeFi and decentralized finance a little bit down the road once Dean gets back. And so we can start talking about just the basics of crypto, as I know a lot of people are here for NFTs, but NFTs is just another industry within crypto, right? So it'd be good to really strengthen your knowledge when it comes to crypto and decentralized finance. Cool. Yeah. So EC isn't coming back on, and there doesn't look like there's anybody requesting for questions. So we can go ahead and wrap this up. Really appreciate everybody jumping in and listening to this Twitter space this morning. Really thankful to have you all here. Just continue to learn, ask questions, jump into Discord. We have some things brewing and some things planned coming up soon. I know it's been fairly quiet in the Discord, but we've got some plans coming up soon to kind of liven things up, and hopefully some more sneak peeks and content coming your way from Rayra. Y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all's day. Again, if y'all have any questions for EC, just drop them in the Discord server, and I think he'll field them when he gets the chance. So, cool. Y'all have a good one. Thank you so much for joining us.